Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for checking out this video here on Shows, Style, and Spirit. I am Ebony, of course. And as you can see from the title of this video, I will be talking about a few different stories from a couple of different sources, including Hollywood Unlocked and the Neighborhood Talk. Before we get into these stories, though, I ask that you please hit the like button on this video and please subscribe to the channel. And everything that I'm saying in this video is alleged and just my opinion. And the Copyright Act of 1976 says that my fair use commentary on the video clips that I will be playing is allowed. Okay, so while I was setting up the Hollywood Unlocked Instagram page to talk about the Brooklyn Bridge boat crash, I saw this update on the young Carmelo Anthony. Now, I'm sure that you all remember him from a couple months ago, where he was charged for the fatal abbing, put a ST in front of that, the fatal shanking of a fellow classmate, a rival of sorts, I believe, in football. So there is an update. So I wanted to briefly get into that before the Brooklyn Bridge story. So according to Hollywood Unlocked, Carmelo Anthony is permitted to graduate high school. However, he's barred from the ceremony amid the unaliving case. So I'm going to read this caption. It's written by Hollywood Unlocked staff writer Deja Monet. In a case that's igniting strong opinions nationwide, Carmelo Anthony is permitted to graduate high school despite being charged with unaliving a fellow classmate. The Texas teen accused of fatally shanking 17-year-old Austin Metcalf during a track meet. They're runners, not football players, a track meet on April the 2nd, will still be allowed to receive his high school diploma after fulfilling his academic requirements. Although Anthony was expelled from Centennial High School, officials from the Frisco Independent School District confirmed his eligibility to graduate. And a spokesperson for Carmelo's family, Minister Dominique Alexander, told People magazine that Carmelo earned a 3.7 grade point average and had completed all graduation requirements prior to the incident. However, under the terms of an agreement between the school district and the Next Generation Action Network, Anthony will not be allowed to participate in any graduation ceremonies or school events. So it sounds like the Next Generation Action Network, which reminds me of Reverend Al Sharpton, his Action Network. Perhaps this is like a newer division or installment of it. They must have reached out to the Frisco Independent School District down in Texas, and they said that he could graduate, still, get a high school diploma. He just can't participate in the actual graduation ceremony. So as long as he can graduate, that's what's most important. I know that it sucks, but these are just ceremonies. I know that it's high school graduation, prom, but there are things, they're not going to be things that you think about every single day for the rest of your life. More important things will come up as life goes on. That's what I would say to Carmelo if I knew him personally. And then as I was clicking through, there were, other headlines that I didn't remember. I may have just forgotten this. I just didn't remember seeing them, but this headline reads, because the blogs, what I love about the Instagram blogs is that they will combine all of the updates into one post. So when there is an update, you check that out, you keep clicking, and you can see the rest of them. So it's a good refresher. And in this headline, it reads, Carmelo Anthony's mother tearfully addressed alleged threats and doxing over Austin Metcalf's unalivement. Austin's father was called disrespectful because he showed up to the press conference. Now, the dad of the victim showing up to the press conference, what was your purpose? Were you hoping to intimidate the family? Were you hoping to incite some sort of ruckus? or some sort of altercation? You know, what was your point of being there? If it was the family speaking about what has been happening to them ever since the incident. You know, I just kind of, that's just kind of speaking like immaturity. Or he could be, some people in the midst where he should be mourning, they may like the attention. That is something that I thought about with the OJ case with Mr. Ronald Goldman's dad. I always felt like he liked the attention. Now, this was another headline. I definitely don't remember seeing this, but Carmelo Anthony's judge beefed up her security because she started receiving threats after reducing his bond and ordering him to house arrest in the midst of the Austin Metcalf unalivement. And rest in peace to Austin Metcalf. He has lost his life at a very young age, and I know his parents are definitely mourning the loss of their son. And of course, Carmelo Anthony was released on house arrest after the judge reduced his bond from $1 million to $250,000 in Austin Metcalf's fatal track meet shanking. And the defense fund for Carmelo Anthony reached nearly $300,000 about a month and a half ago, as the fund for the victim also reached $300,000. I find it so interesting where like people will give based on racially backed incidents. If it involved, you know, a police officer and an unarmed person of color, there will be lots of people donating lots of money to that police officer, and it's like instant without a question. So that's, you know, that's a trip, but definitely not surprising, but a trip to me. So, and then Carmelo's dad said that his son was not the aggressor, and the victim's father said that he forgave the suspect. And if you had to take a look at the pictures, this is Carmelo's mugshot. So he looks a little fearful for sure. And then the picture of the victim, he does not look nice. You know, I'm not saying that he deserved anything, but he just does not look nice. So I wanted to bring those updates to you. Carmelo gets to graduate, but he does not get to participate in the ceremony. What do you think about that? So now let's go ahead and move on. Still shout out to the Hollywood Unlocked. Video may start as soon as I click on it, so I wanted to just pause. There is an update that 2 crew members of the Mexican ship, they did lose their lives, unfortunately, after the Mexican ship lost power, redirected itself, and hit the Brooklyn Bridge. So let's go ahead and take a look. Okay.
We have more breaking news following tonight. A Mexican tall ship has crashed into the Brooklyn Bridge. New York's mayor is now saying at least 2 people died. At least 19 others were injured, 2 of them in critical condition tonight. 277 people on board at the time of the crash. Mayor Eric Adams saying the ship lost power before crashing into the bridge. The bridge itself was spared.
It's just unfathomable. This Mexican tall ship owned by the U.S. Navy crashing into the Brooklyn Bridge last night.
No, I totally get it. We've seen this video now a couple of times. A lot of people waking up probably seen it for the first time.
And still.
Yeah, it's staggering. The ship's towering mast, they snapped under the undercarriage of the bridge there. 2 people are dead at this point. More than a dozen others are injured. We want to head to the scene now. Weekend Today New York's Jessica Cunnington live over at Pier 36. That's on the Lower East Side, and that's where the ship is docked right now. Jess, what's the latest?
Yeah, it is docked here for now. It's being guarded by 2 NYPD officers and also an NYPD harbor unit boat that is in the water here. But while there are so many questions that people have this morning about how this happened, how it could have happened, and the NTSB will be conducting a full investigation into that. But I want to take you closer to this boat, to this.
It's just unfathomable. This Mexican
tall ship that was on a naval training mission. It was on its way to Iceland. That was supposed to be the next stop. But instead, officials say there was some sort of mechanical mishap that led this ship to smash right into the Brooklyn Bridge. You can take a look at the top of the masts there that are just broken, snapped, hanging over now. You might have seen the video. It was posted all across social media. We, of course, showed it to you last night. But really, this happened around 8:30 p.m. when that ship just veered straight on into the bridge. In one video, you can see, as you both mentioned, sailors up on the masts seconds before it hit the bridge. Tons of people in Manhattan and Brooklyn were out by the water. It was a beautiful Saturday evening, as we know. So many people watched this happen and could not believe what they were seeing. According to the naval lieutenant on that ship, this tall ship, and that was on a naval, he had told our team earlier last week that this was a training mission for cadets at a Mexican naval school. Now, officials told us 277 people in total were on board, and you're taking a look at photos here of the massive rescue effort last night by the FDNY and the NYPD to get every single person off safely. Now, Mayor Eric Adams says 19 people in total were injured, and we know 2 people passed away. According to the preliminary investigation, the NYPD said the pilot assigned to navigating the boat out into the water, well, they believe there was some kind of mechanical issues that then caused that ship to hit the bridge.
Dancing, singing, but there was people on the mast standing up, and I don't know, they were backing up, and it hit the top shelf, and the mast came down, and the people were just hanging from there.
The captain that was maneuvering the ship lost, power.
He had told our team earlier last week
Of the ship, and the current mechanical function caused the ship to go right into the pillar of the bridge, hitting the mast of the ship, where there was a couple of sailors on top of it.
Now, here is some video of the ship that had been at Pier 17 last week. This is, of course, way before this crash happened. The lieutenant had told our team that New York was just one stop of many on the training cruise. And normally at all of the different ports that the ship visits, it attracts a lot of attention from local residents in the different places that they visit. And people are welcome to come onto the boat to exchange culture, to get to know a little bit of Mexico. So this ship has a lot of meaning. It has been out at sea for 36 years in total. New York City right now working very closely
Of the ship and the current.
Closely with the Mexican government right now, especially with family members of those 2 people who passed away. They, of course, are making their way here to New York City. We know 2 others are still in critical condition this morning, and others are injured as well. What we know in terms of the Brooklyn Bridge, the Department of Transportation Commissioner, along with the mayor, said after a preliminary inspection of the bridge, there seemed to be no damage done to the bridge itself or its structure because or due to this crash. So the bridge is open and running as normal. But again, the NTSB will conduct a full investigation about this incident. Live on the Lower East Side this morning, I'm Jessica Cunnington. Back to you.
What a horrific story, Jess. Thank you. And Gus and I were talking about this. This bridge was the ship was the vessel is a goodwill vessel, and it was bound for Iceland and makes stops in Iceland and Spain and London, and it was supposed to be heading north and appears to have been going backwards.
Closely with the Mexican government right now.
When it struck the bridge, and fortunately nobody hurt on the bridge. But my God, those 2 sailors
Just a horror.
on board. All right,
Yeah.
Jessica, thank you so much for that update.
Well, our live breaking news coverage of the ship crash continues all morning right here on Weekend Today in New York. You can also get the latest on our free News for App, also our website.
Big breaking news from New York City. A mass casualty event after a ship hit the Brooklyn Bridge. Look at this video just into the wavy newsroom. Several people have been hurt after the mast of this Mexican Navy tall ship.
Okay, so shout out to that news reporter, Jessica Cunnington. Excellent coverage, Jessica. You did an awesome job. So what is really boggling my mind is the ship, the Mexican Navy ship, lost power and then it redirected itself. So that, I guess that's supposed to be some sort of feature. If in the event that the Navy ship loses power, it's going to come up with its ability to redirect itself. But reportedly, it was like going backwards. Even in its redirection, I guess it couldn't sense the bridge. That is a shame. So I feel like this redirection feature is really no good if it can't tell that it's encountering a bridge or any sort of danger or an area where it should not be. It should just be a flat out, if it loses power, it's just gonna sit, I guess, until someone can come and help them, or the Coast Guard or something. I don't know, but it's redirecting itself seemed to be the really big issue. And it losing power, I don't know what went into that as well. It's not like it was adverse weather, or was it all of the lights that they were using for the decor? I don't know, but it's extremely tragic. I would not want to have to commute on the Brooklyn Bridge. Mayor Adams, he's already come out and said that a preliminary investigation has been done. They don't see any issues with the bridge. It's still open and running. Like, I would need a more thorough investigation because the incident just happened today and it's a Sunday. I need your normal workers, the full-time workers, the full staff. Nobody, please don't call in tomorrow, and please investigate that bridge after the sun has risen and it is daylight, because we don't know what could have been done to the bridge. And just my condolences to those 2 sailors who have lost their lives, and to the 19 who are injured. I wish them a full and speedy recovery. What were your thoughts when you heard about the Mexican Navy ship Brooklyn Bridge accident? All right, so now we're going to head on over to the neighborhood talk. I hope that StreamYard does not knock out the audio. I think what I may do is just go from here to the neighborhood talk, because I don't want to go to the other tab that I've opened up and then it knocks out the power. So we're going to go over Joe Exotic, and then we will talk about former President Joe Biden. All right, so I will go ahead and close out this internet tab just to make sure everything's running at a good speed. Okay, so this story, I don't know if you all are familiar with Joe Exotic. He hosted a TV show. He owned lots of different animals. He's in prison right now for allegedly trying to set up a herder for hire of his co-star, Carol Baskin. If you have Netflix, you may have watched the documentary that was about Joe Exotic. I couldn't get past episode 1 when they showed him with that big fat snake. I just could not. I couldn't do it. But I heard my coworkers were saying that documentary was wild. That was crazy. But that is Joe Exotic. Let me know in the comments if you watched the documentary on Netflix. So the headline reads, Joe Exotic's husband, Jorge Flores, reportedly deported to Mexico after being released from a Texas prison. So now I want to read the caption from the Neighborhood Talk. Shout out to the Neighborhood Talk and its staff writer, Antoine. All right, so Joe Exotic's husband, Jorge Marquez Flores, was deported back to Mexico by ICE after being released from prison. According to TMZ, Flores was deported to Mexico on Friday after being released from a Texas prison. Just one day prior, Joe shared on social media that his husband had been taken to an ICE detention center for a hearing regarding his U.S. citizenship. Per TMZ, just hours later, he was sent back to Mexico. Joe and Jorge got engaged in October 2024 and tied the knot in April 2025. Jorge had been serving a sentence for immigration related charges, and Joe is currently serving a 21-year prison sentence for his role in a murder for hire plot aimed at Carol Baskin. Joe also shared an interesting photo Jorge allegedly left behind upon his release. So, another funny thing when I think of Joe Exotic, I think about um, in 2020, it was at the end of Trump's first presidency. And Joe Exotic just knew he was going to be pardoned. And he actually ordered a limousine. He ordered a limousine, and the limousine came up to the prison to pick him up. He just knew he was going to get to go home, baby. And he did not get pardoned. But I was just wondering, like, he probably showered, combed his hair, did everything he could from prison to look good, and it was all for nothing. So that's what I think of. But we all know that the current administration is not playing when it comes to immigrants. And then his husband was already in prison for immigration related charges. It pretty much seems like a no brainer. That's why it sounds like that's why ICE had him released from prison, just so they could deport him. So that's unfortunate for Joe Exotic, for his husband to, let me not, because that was something weird that I didn't quite, there were people commenting. I thought it was just thumbprints and I didn't quite understand it. So, but there were people leaving very interesting comments regarding that picture. I forgot about it. I should not have clicked on it. But what did you think about that? About his husband getting deported? Okay, so now we're going to move on to Joe Biden. It is quite sad, but the headline reads, "Prayers up, former President Joe Biden reportedly diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer." In a statement released by his spokesperson, President Biden has been diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer. Last week, President Joe Biden was seen for a new finding of a prostate nodule after experiencing increasing urinary symptoms. On Friday, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer characterized by a Gleason score of 9, grade group 5, with the metastasis to the bone. While this represents a more aggressive form of the disease, it appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for effective management. The president and his family are reviewing treatment options with his physicians. And so that is quite unfortunate. He will always be a special president in my eyes because he took on the job when the entire world was in the middle of a huge crisis. Carnival 19, and the entire world was shut down, and he ran the country. He really emphasized us wearing masks, social distancing. Then he promoted the jab, the jab in the arm, you know what that is. He promoted that to the best of his ability. Some people felt like it was imposed upon them, but he was just trying to keep everyone healthy and safe, in my opinion. So he took on the job in a very stressful time, and he did great. He was professional. He never sent out any divisive or triggering tweets or social media posts. And he did great in my eyes. And he really tried to help the middle class. He tried to get the student loans wiped away. I always say, if they could at least knock off the interest, it's a loan because you try to ensure a better future for yourself by being educated. Why charge interest on that type of debt? So I always say, if they could knock out the interest, then the middle class could pay that off, and you could still, kind of get ahead, not just get by. But that is the latest on him. So if you do pray, that is a spiritual activity that you participate in. If you could say one for him, that would be fantastic. I'm sure he would appreciate it. All right, so some people have actually spoken out, just wishing him a full and speedy recovery, including President Trump. And he tweeted, Melania and I are saddened to hear about Joe Biden's recent medical diagnosis. We extend our warmest and best wishes to Jill and the family, and we wish Joe a fast and successful recovery. So that was nice of him. That was professional of him. So, and I'm sure his press secretary may have written it, but at least they did send that out, and that, that was appropriate. Also, Kamala has also posted, and she writes, Doug and I are saddened to learn of President Biden's prostate cancer diagnosis. We are keeping him, Dr. Biden, and their entire family in our hearts and prayers during this time. Joe is a fighter, and I know he will face this challenge with the same strength, resilience, and optimism that have always defined his life and leadership. We are hopeful for a full and speedy recovery. So that was great for Kamala to post as well. It's very stressful, just the possibility of anyone getting such a diagnosis. So all we can do is think very positively that his body will respond well to the treatments. And I wish him well for sure. So that was sad news. Okay. And so there are people definitely saying, this woman here says she survived it as well, and she's praying that he can overcome it. And she said, like many of us who had it at all stages, and she says that God has the final say so. All right, so definitely I thank you all so much for checking out this video. Please hit the like button on this video and please subscribe to the channel. The weekend is coming to an end, but it will be a longer weekend next weekend because it will be Memorial Day weekend. I feel like it got here so fast and I'm also excited, okay? But I wish you all a great night. Enjoy your evening, which I am about to do, and I will talk with you all later. Bye.